hopefully everything is working. Hopefully everything is working. Just do let us know in chat if everything is up and running 100%. And we will begin the Tech Yes City live stream, the final live stream for Japan. I'll be heading back to Australia very soon, and we'll be getting some dumpster content done for you guys. And join in on chat, get relaxed, and hopefully the audio is good as well, loud and clear. Great, everything's good. Hopefully the picture's good. Now, straight away, I'm on a different camera as well, so if the battery goes out on this camera, I do apologize. I have to change battery in midstream, but we should be here to deliver another awesome live stream. So again, pressing questions, guys. If you've got pressing questions, ask them in chat. I'll answer them as best as I can. But there's some disturbing trends that I'm seeing with monetary conditions right now, which we'll actually jump into straight away. I thought it was like the more juicier topic of the day, right? There was like the Federal Reserve is losing money now. And this is, they've never, like the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America has never lost money consistently in its history since its inception, I believe. And so now it's losing money, basically. They've got what's known as a reverse repo fund, and all the massive commercial banks are just depositing cash into this reverse repo. And the interest rates on that reverse repo, because interest rates are going up in the US, the Fed's having to pay all these banks money, and then the assets that they've got on their balance sheet aren't bringing in enough money to cover that, what they're paying out. So this is the remittance. And so they're losing money. And so when they lose money, they can't send that profit to the Treasury, and the Treasury funds the government. So you could be in for some very bad financial conditions. But then we've got the other side of the fence, which we're going to talk about today, the roller coaster, right? We've got these shortages which will come about the more things get locked down in China. So that's sort of like something that's really scary. But first pressing concern is Black Friday, right? Something that I don't really go crazy on Black Friday too much because I don't see a lot of truly good deals. And if I'm reporting as a YouTuber, the deals that you will see, if they're really good, by the time I can actually even tweet out something or even post up a video, for example, a lot of those deals are just going to be sold out, especially if it's things like SSDs, and especially if it's things like graphics cards, for example, CPUs, DDR4, or anything really good on price will just be gone before you can even report on it as a YouTuber. So I just like to tell people like the methodology and explaining things, as well as showing people like some good deals that are still really good. For instance, there's a pair of headphones here. I was like, damn, I wouldn't mind getting these if I was in the US. They're the HD 599s from Sennheiser. I do have Audio-Technicas personally, but between Sennheiser and Audio-Technica, I believe most people can get all their audio desires fulfilled in one stop from these two brands. But what we got here is $90, so it's actually a decent sale. If I compare this to the Japanese price here, in Japan, the cheapest I can find these headphones, for instance, is Ichiman Q-San, which I think is like $140 or something. So it's not a bad price, right? So that's a decent Black Friday deal. In the US, though, if we're looking at the headphones I currently use, the AD500Xs, I love these things. I can't shill them enough, even though there's no sponsorships or relationships with Audio-Technica. Just like literally one of the best comfort-wise and warm-sounding headphones, as well as positioning if you're a gamer. You know, if you're, I gotta position that guy, man. Like, I don't know if you guys have played Apex Legends, but so many people sound, they just listen, they just like, I was gonna say the word, but it might be like not 10 minutes into the stream, so I don't want to kind of get the stream like deranked already. But it starts with a W, then the next letter's H, and then the next letter's O, then the next letter's R, and the next letter's E. So people do this in games, and especially headphones like these are great, but problem is the price, right? $80. I can get these in Japan with 10% off for, I think it's like 50. So if I get 10% off, that's with taxes. It's like $57. So in Japan, these are a better deal than they are in America. So basically what I'm trying to say is, look, if you're looking at something that's like crazy deal, crazy Black Friday deal, go check it out and maybe check out another country's Amazon, like amazon.co.jp or .co.jp. And then you can check the price on there and adjust it and see if it really is a true deal. because I think a lot of these Black Friday deals aren't actually going to be that great. So if I was in the US at the moment, yeah, I wouldn't be buying these at $80 because I can get them cheaper in Japan. That's just PPP, purchasing price parity. Anyhow, let's get on now to the RTX 4080. Everyone loves dumping on the RTX 4080 lately. All right, so maybe someone can spell it out in chat. Someone's like, what did he spell out? So it's just sound. I just don't want to say the word. Like, I think apparently like YouTube on the first 10 minutes, if you say like, sound hormones. That's it. I'm going to say sound hormones. Yeah, they just had sound hormones in games. You guys are really awesome in chat. Oh, man. Purchasing power parity. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, Marco. So now we've got the RTX 4080. Everyone loves to dump on this graphics card. It's become the new target. So, like, you know, if you're dumping on the RTX 4080, it's like the cool thing to do. So today we're not really going to be dumping on it so much. We've already dumped on it in the past. I said the price wasn't that great. I thought they better... Yesterday's video, for example, the mini ITX rig, biggest missed opportunity. I would have loved to have fit the 4080 in a mini ITX rig. And I thought these cards would have sold a lot better if they were a smaller format. But apparently now we've got not just the scalpers now are having problems, right? The scalpers are having to drop their prices and they're not making so much money. So Tom's Hardware did a great analysis of just looking at all the eBay data, and the 4090 is outselling on eBay the 4080 like 3.4 to 1, which is a pretty good indicator of how sales are in general and how eBay sort of stocked up. Oh no, sorry, how Nvidia basically proportioned stock levels to the RTX 4090. We all know that they provisioned a heap more RTX 4090 silicon than they did for 4080, but another thing they didn't expect was in the first week or in the first few weeks of sale, the 4080 is selling much worse than the 4090 is, and this is shown in a heap of different metrics. So this card is not just selling bad, it's selling terribly bad. And so that's not good news. I mean, it's good news if you're a customer and you really want a 4080 because the prices are probably going to start going down. So what we're seeing here now is I saw these rumors. I was on Twitter and I was like, MSRPs, like RTX 4080s are below MSRP in certain countries. And I can attest to that. Like we're looking in Australia, this is Aussie dollars. So basically the MSRP of this graphics card was $2,200-ish, I believe, 2,218 or something like that. So it is coming now under MSRP in Australia because it was a starting from price. So that's below. In Australia, that's below. Did I say below? This is why like live streaming, man, you can make some mistakes. I think that's a cool mistake. We're just gonna roll with that. This price is now below than the MSRP because it happened in real time. We got now the RTX 4080 in Japan. This is now ichiman or 10,000 yen under the MSRP or the starting from price. So I can confirm these prices are a bit lower. Now, also, if you're looking for deals, one thing we'll just quickly get back to Black Friday and the deals is the prices of some of AMD's new graphics cards. The 6800 XT, for example, some of these were going for under $500, right? You got here, I think it was minus $20. So it was $515, right? And then you got a $20 main rebate. So technically you could have got the RTX 6800 XT for $495. That's an incredible deal. Really good deal. So look on these prices and look at the price history as well. If you've got websites and you're looking at, if you've got price history on those websites, this can be a great indicator on when something is actually a deal besides just the Black Friday naming. And I mean, this card was already on sale 22 days ago, it says here. 22 days ago, it dropped to this price. So that was well before these Black Friday deals started. So I think just people were looking along Black Friday and then it got sold out. So always just keep a look on. I'm not one who's too hyped about Black Friday, but a lot of people are. I do like to do some shopping, but I just check out where the real deals are. It's always about getting the real deal. Now back to CPU sales, AM4. If you guys wanted a quick interlude before we move on to chat, AMD's CPU sales are basically so that AM4 is topping the charts. 13th gen is mixed in there. And basically, even with the price drops on the 7000 series, they're still not managing to creep up the charts. But I think in Japan, the price drops haven't been enough. And if we look at the GPUs, Currently, the 4080 is doing terrible. It's not really not coming up the list. The 4090 is still outselling it much faster in Japan than the 4080. So this is a card that will see price drops. People are talking about price drops on the 4080. Again, the longer it sits on the shelves, and look at this, in stock, in stock, in stock, in stock. I've never seen a new NVIDIA launch in actually quite a few years that's just been everything in stock. So you see here, it's hot deal. It's like, wow, that's a hot deal, all right? Not. So it's like you'll see these hot deals, and they're not really hot deals. It's just advertising, marketing 101. So nothing really hot about any of these deals. But again, the deals are going to get much hotter if this is the trend. And if you see in stock on everything, these prices will come down, just like the CPUs, just like the AMD CPUs. Now, of course, when I did the AMD prediction, I was getting called the biggest fanboy in history. Like, Brian, you're an NVIDIA fanboy, Intel fanboy. It's like, no, like, if something's not selling and there's the production to keep the stock rolling and there's a profit margin there, it's in the company's best interests to keep selling that product and make profit. Now, is an RTX 4080 profitable at 2,600 Aussie dollars? Yeah. So is it profitable at 2,000 Aussie dollars? I'd say, yeah. So the prices will go down. It's just that the stock's going to keep rolling in. So the longer these products sit on the shelves for, the sooner you're going to see price drops, especially in this economic environment, which we'll get onto soon. But don't worry, AMD saw the price cuts on the 7000 series CPUs. That's actually a bit of a mess, because even with the dropped prices, people still aren't flocking to it. I would have thought you would have seen sales volumes pick up, especially even in Japan or other indicators of sales volumes picking up on 7000 series. But I don't think that's the case. And I think the motherboard entry costs are still just so high. Plus, people don't want to buy that DDR5 memory. So there's two barriers there for AMD's 7000 series. Then you got the GPUs here. They're just the one big factor is just the price is just too high. That's all it is. One component for the RTX 4080 is just the price is too high. So people are weighing up their options, and they're like, well, why would I go get a 4080 when I can just save and get half the price? I can get a 3080. Do I really need to spend that extra money? And I think the market is telling NVIDIA no. And I think NVIDIA sort of ran into a bit of a brick wall with the 4080 forecast. As opposed to the 4090, different field altogether. You're going with flagship, you're targeting that sort of upper echelon of 10% of the population, and they're delivering in that sense. But the 4080 is stuck in a real weird place. So there's got really not a whole lot going for it, and I think it needs some price drops pretty soon. So that's sort of what is going on in that field. So we got more price discussion here. So I was just looking at the prices on AliExpress as well. So they're dropping down for the 7950X2. So you can expect price drops on all this stuff, but this is the curveball. Now, we always like to play devil's advocate on these podcasts. I always like to give you guys all the angles, every single angle. And just a sec, sorry. Just got to kind of just a bit of an interlude there. So now we got the curveball. This is the big one, okay? So this one's actually pretty scary, because what you're seeing here is a lot of the COVID lockdown, zero COVID lockdown policies in China that they're implementing is just causing a lot of these factories to have, basically they're shutting down areas. People don't want to be locked in those areas for weeks on end. So they're all trying to flee and get out. And so it's just causing mass protests, mass riots in China right now. And the biggest one in all this, the biggest one affected so far from what I can research, is the Apple iPhone, right? The iPhone factory. People are just going, it employs 200,000 people. That's a lot of people making iPhones and all this new gadgets and gear. That's at the center of all this. And so this has been going on for weeks and weeks. And some of the news articles, news outlets are reporting on it. But for me, I'd like to see much more in-depth reporting on this topic. And from what I'm seeing is I'm getting a lot of the news from Twitter and a lot of the video footage from Twitter, and it's absolute chaos. If you go on Twitter and you search China lockdown, you'll see that a lot of this is actually pretty bad. Now, Foxconn, right? It's the Foxconn factories too. Now, the thing about Foxconn, I do believe they make, for instance, sockets on motherboards. So if they're stopping to make the sockets on the motherboards, for instance, you could see shortages on motherboards, because those sockets, you can't just whip up a factory and start making sockets overnight. So there's a lot of potential shortages that could come about just because the products aren't there. The demand's still there, even though the lower demand due to monetary conditions is still lower. When you have supply just take an absolute tanking, then the prices will go up on a lot of different items. So depending on, like, I'd love to see if there was some sort of website that tracked a lot of these factory shutdowns. I'd love to see, like, real time who's sort of affected by it the most, and sort of if people say, for instance, if you really want to get an iPhone and a new, I don't know, personally, I'm an Android user, so I don't really see the appeal on getting an iPhone. I think maybe this is a good thing for the market. Probably gonna cop some hate in the comments, but I said it live. But if the iPhone factory shuts down, right, that's going to cause iPhone prices to go up significantly, especially if people want these new iPhone 14 Pros. So this is a big danger in the market right now. A lot of these cities and just grinding to a halt. That's what the news is saying. So it's grinding to a near halt as they try to go zero COVID. And I think these, like, personally, I think you never, like, once, I mean, back in 2020, I think it was impossible to get zero COVID. I mean, once the cat was out of the bag, it's staying out for good and doesn't want to go back in. So now the biggest one is we got here the LG factories, right? The LG factory, that's, like, I was looking where that is, and that's in Beijing, right? So the LG electronics factory is in Beijing. Now this is like, guys, we all love OLED, right? So if OLED starts facing some of these lockdowns as well, you could see the prices of OLEDs go up, and they could be in shortage. Now, this is the biggest danger of all this, because everyone loves a good OLED. Now, if you're in Australia, you can currently, like, different bargains. You can currently get a C2 42-inch for like 1,250 Aussie dollars. It's a really good deal because you get the cashbacks. So I was surprised. So there are some really good deals right now. If you need some of this stuff in the next few months, especially like if you want to get an OLED, or if you want to get, say, for instance, an iPhone, I'd be seriously considering getting it sooner than later, because these shortages, they do take, there is a delay in the pipeline because a lot of the products are on the shipping containers and whatnot. But once those shortages start really kicking into effect, then that's when the sort of drama starts to unfold with the pricing. Now, good news is the DXY is at least a little bit lower from then when we last reported on it. So we've got, again, this is just a totally mixed bag in today's stream. We've got the for and against going where the internationally, say for instance, you're in Europe and you've wanted to get a graphics card, the prices should be heading down internationally as the DXY heads down. So that's a pretty important thing to note with the DXY. So let us know in the comments as well what you guys think about pricing in your area. If you're, say, for instance, in Europe, or if you're in Australia, if you're in New Zealand, has prices come down where you are locally, just even a little bit, because this was at 113 just some weeks ago. So I think I remember, it reached like 113. That was the peak of the DXY. Now it's come down a good 5%. So has pricing dropped maybe 5% in your area? Do let us know in the comments. So I thought iPhone was an American thing in the comments. No, iPhone is I think it's a global thing. In Japan, I'm actually going to tell you guys about Japan actually with the iPhone. It is so popular in Japan. The iPhone, I cannot believe how popular iPhones are in Japan. If you guys have ever been in Japan, like, I'm asking people, like, what phone do you use? And everyone I speak to is just like, I have an iPhone, Brian. I have an iPhone. I'm like, have you ever checked out Android, for instance? You know, like, I have a great value experience. I just think the iPhone prices are very expensive. And they're like, no, I tried an Android and I had some problems. And I was like, what was your problem? And it mainly came down to the fact that I think a lot of Apple users are just so used. They're just so used to the interface and the UI that they don't want to give Android a chance. So in Japan, for instance, iPhone is a massive thing over here. Absolutely huge. So depending on where you live, it can be a big thing. So, yeah, I think it's a global thing, not just the camera's out of focus a little bit. No, I think it's just the quality. Like, if I move back, maybe it is out of focus. We'll just, I know a solution to that. Okay, we'll just pull the camera back a little bit. Okay. There's your fix. There is your fix for the out of focus issue. So hopefully that works a little bit better. Now look what I got for Black Friday. I got an abs cruncher, another one that I can take back to Australia. You're made of, you are out of focus. I should be in focus now. Am I in focus? Or is it auto? Yeah, sorry guys. My camera broke down. My main camera broke. It broke, okay? The main camera just, it went. It didn't even give me a warning. It didn't even give me a warning. So I'm using the backup camera. I'm using the backup camera for this stream. It didn't even give me a warning. And now I've got an abs cruncher to put a smile on my face. So I've actually got one of these already. I can attest to this model right here. If you get the ones that are wobbly, they can really do your back in. So this one's got like a balancing kit. This one's got a balancing kit on it that does a bit of a balancing act. So if you want an abs cruncher, this is the one to get. I think this is the meta. And so I got this on a actually Black Friday deal for around $14. So how's that? Okay, people are trolling. No, Yusuf usually, Yusuf's in the comments. He's usually very, I wouldn't say he's trolling. I'd say he's just very OCD about like, Brian, your audio is a little bit like just you just gotta take down like 0.5 decibel. Brian, you're out of focus by two millimeters. I'm just like, yeah, dude, like, let's just get back to the content, you know. The legendary ab crunches. So we'll do a bit of Q&A as well as just quickly. I got to move the camera a little bit because it's out of like whack now. That should be good. That should be more in frame. There it is. Okay. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Quick sponsor interlude too. And then we'll get to Q&A. So here it is, BFTYC. Use the link in the description below. Use that coupon, BFTYC, use the link in the description below. You get this for $14.07. So I was saying it's $14.50. It's $14.07 for that Pro single end user license. Can use it for Windows 11, use it for Windows 10. We've also got the Windows 10 custom gaming optimization and workstation optimization guides coming out for both Windows 10 and Windows 11, because what I'm finding is both of these. Oh wait, we out of focus again, or is it? I'm just getting trolled. I think maybe I'm. If my, oh man, the backup camera. Sorry guys, the backup camera is not doing its job. But we got the. Oh man. Anyway, we're just going to talk to you guys about some juicier figures because your eyeballs will go to the monetary conditions. This is what we all came for, right? The finance. You guys came for the finance. So this is where, as it stands, right, regardless of all these shortages. Okay, Mikey. Thanks, Mikey. The camera's fine. Awesome. So as it stands with all these shortages, right, it doesn't matter what's going in shortage. We're looking at the money, right? Because there's a lot of stuff already currently out there. Man, okay, people are just, man, I wish I had my Sony. Look, I wish I had my main camera, okay? I wish I had my main camera. It just went out, okay? Okay. I wish I had my main camera. That's all I'm going to say. Now I'm on the backup cam, and it's clearly not doing a great job. It's not satisfying the OCD in the comments. That's what's going on. I think the monitor's in focus right back there. I mean, I'll quickly check. Like, I thought... Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. We got manual focus. Yeah, manual. Okay. Everything's manual. Continual autofocus. Okay. Yeah, autofocus single. Yep. Okay, that should be... yeah, that should be good, guys. That should be fine, actually. I think I'm getting trolled. Like, at least from what I check, it should be kind of in focus. Like, shouldn't be that bad anyway. So, yeah, I'll just, easy. Yeah, I think chat's, like, actually mass trolling me. So the backup camera is a G7, a Panasonic G7. And that's what, I mean, I got used to. The problem was, okay, yeah. Dr. Coonan, thanks for the $5 donation, brother. That'll go towards the next camera. Thanks, man. Hello, Brian. Long time no chat. How is Japan? Are you going back to Aussie or are you there for good? So I'm going back. Okay, camera. Just we'll quickly get to this question. Camera, G7 Panasonic. But the problem with the Panasonic is the autofocus on this is not anywhere near as good as the Sony. The Sony A7S III, I could just leave the eye autofocus on, and it was like bang, on point every single second of every single minute. So there it was. The G7 is kind of like look, me and this thing, we have a tough relationship, okay? Me and this Panasonic G7 camera, very tough relationship. We're kind of ironing out our bugs right now. Kind of like me and my ex, the G7, but it's, yeah, hopefully the G7's a little bit behind though. Me and the ex have ironed out the problems. Things are good now. The G7, however, we still got to iron out some problems. So I do apologize for camera issues. I do have, hopefully, a camera. My friend's going to borrow me a camera when I get back to Australia until I can make something work. It's, of course, the newer Sony stuff is really good for filming and flexibility. So back to the question, man. How is Japan? Japan's really good. Everyone, like, Japan, just in a nutshell, is a really good place to live, right? So, it's just like, it's super awesome because I don't have to worry when I go outside about some, group of guys trying to mug me. There's none of those issues there. In Australia, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, yeah, you can get mugged. In Japan, I haven't heard of it. I haven't seen it happen. Not in Chiba anyway, the prefecture that I live in. So hasn't happened yet. So great, safe place. Japan's good. The food's amazing in Japan. The diet is phenomenal. So if you're in Japan, you want to eat, drink some green tea, eat the good food. The inflation here is a real thing. It's not anywhere near as bad as what people are telling me it's in Australia. Like, sushi prices have doubled in Australia as opposed to sushi prices in Japan. They've gone up maybe around 20 to 30% over the last year and a bit. So there's some differences there. Am I going back to Oz for good? No, I'm going to be living between both countries. So it's a weird kind of mix that I've got. There's a lot of stuff in the realm right now. There's a lot going on in real life that has me sort of switching between the two countries and being a lot really time strapped. But hopefully we're going to fix that up. So in the next couple of months, I'm going to be definitely sorting out a lot of issues, not just with the channel, but personal issues too. And they're not issues as in drama related issues. They're just all time related issues. And really, that's in the works. So when I get back to Australia, hopefully be sorting out a lot of that and getting to a phase where you guys can get the best content, get the best of everything, and maybe I'll be vlogging a lot more too, just because there's actually a few things outside of tech that I want to start getting into as well, and I've never had the time to do that. So, Dr. Coonan, thanks for becoming a TYC supporter, my man. Welcome. And let's get to the juicy news, the finance. So basically, all things considered, right? All things considered, we're going to have that roller coaster analogy because as we're seeing shortages on some products will be fine. As we're seeing, one thing we'll go back to, I think is the biggest trend right now is, we'll talk about the monetary conditions first. These are tightening, right? Any country is kind of tightening the balance sheet right now. They're selling down assets. They're not printing any more money to buy assets. And in fact, the Federal Reserve's in a messy situation right now because they're raising interest rates to tame inflation, right? So the interest on debt is becoming higher. People want to pay that back sooner. The banks are tightening their lending standards because they don't want to lend good money on top of bad collateral. And so what we're seeing is a massive tightening that's still taking place. And in fact, I don't even think we've seen the start of it because now there's a new trend. There's this new problem that's emerging in the markets because the Federal Reserve essentially offered a reverse repo, and that's paying really high interest rates to those who deposit their cash. This is essentially the most risk-free money that anyone could invest in right now. And a lot of the commercial banks have taken up the Federal Reserve on this offer. So what we're seeing here is the Federal Reserve is losing money, and that's money that they can no longer take and give to the US Treasury. And then the US Treasury funds the US government. So basically what you could see, and this is if you see these new IRS agents and all this stuff that's coming through in the United States, essentially the US government's broke. And they're getting really broke because if the Fed can't come in to bail them out and everything breaks down, you'll either see hyperinflation and the Fed will just resort to printing up and handing out dodgy IOUs that have no bearing, which I don't think they would let happen because that's just absolute chaos. Or things get really tight really quickly. So essentially if the Fed starts losing too much money, they then have to print up more money, but give those who take the collateral on an IOU. And whatever is in that IOU remains between the commercial bank and the Federal Reserve. But again, there's going to be a juicy premium on that, and those premiums cost money. So essentially, you're paying the future generations of money now, and that's draining the system. So there's no more free lunches, essentially. So what you're going to see across the board is not just from government, but from a lot of these, a lot of industries in general, is just a massive tightening of conditions. And this is going to be flowing through a lot quicker now that the Federal Reserve is losing money. It's that simple. And the market's sort of responding by keeping I think the bond interest rates are lower than the actual reverse repo rates right now. So in other words, the most risk-free form of money in the bond market and whatnot is not with bonds, it's with these reverse repos. So very tricky conditions, which ultimately means cash is getting tighter. And as these conditions, regardless of shortages, cash itself is getting tighter. So some things, if they're in abundant supply, will be getting cheaper. Some things that go out of supply due to deglobalisation or COVID lockdowns is going to see, just like these articles here, massive reduction in supply. And so that means going to be, especially since if the demand is even somewhat near what it used to be and the supply is drastically reduced, you're going to see prices drop. Prices increase massively on those items. So if you got an iPhone or if you want to get a new iPhone, you might want to get suited later. That's the verdict there. I mean, if you really want an iPhone, personally, I'd go with another phone, even a used phone. I picked up a P20 Pro Huawei, does everything I want it to. I got that thing for, I think, USD wise, I got it for like $120. That was before I left to Japan. So you can get some absolute bargains on phones. Anyhow, that's everything. We're going to move over to some Q&A as well as talk about deglobalization. I had an article up here where Canon, the camera manufacturer, right? Canon, they were going to start, here it is here. Canon, they're going to build a plant in Japan. So they're moving manufacturing back to Japan, right? They got plans to do that. So what you're seeing now is a massive instability in the global economy, and that's spanning through now with deglobalization, which is going to add to inflationary pressures too, right? So everything's pointing towards high inflation. Monetary conditions are pointing towards deflation. Welcome to the inflationary depression, fellas. You couldn't be. Yeah, Bloomberg want me to paywall them. They never used, 10 years ago, Bloomberg never had a paywall. That's the scary thing. I always used to read Bloomberg a lot. Now it's like, hey, pay to read our articles. And it's like, don't you guys get money off ads? I don't force my viewers to pay for anything, right? So, I don't know. That's kind of like, imagine if I put Tech Yes City behind a paywall, man. That's just, it's not fair, right? So, yeah, smash that like button, brothers. I'm keeping the content real, giving you advice that you can take to the bank. So, anyhow, let's get on to some Q&A, guys. If you got some questions you want to ask, then drop them in below. We also got the inflation numbers. Again, these are terrible. The annual inflation rates remaining high in 2022. The new inflation numbers come out next, I think it's pretty soon, actually. New inflation numbers come out pretty soon. They should be relatively high, even if they drop down from this 7-point-something% and they drop down to 6%. That's still absolutely terrible. These high inflation numbers are already gaining on top of previously high inflation numbers. Make no mistake about that. So you got high inflation on top of high inflation, or lower, or a little bit. It's called disinflation, but it can still be terrible when it's at these 6% figures. They have to get those numbers right back down to 1 or 2%, at least. I'd prefer 0%, and even prefer a bit of deflation. Hey, people who work hard and save their money could use a bit of a break. But yeah, there we go. You could have went to Nebula long ago and started that dono war. Your content rate's that high. Thanks, brothers. Thanks, guys. Is your coffee cup big enough? This is a tea. I got an Earl Grey tea with a honey throat candy to keep my throat. It's really dry in Japan at the moment. So if you come into Japan, you'll definitely want to get like a... Man, the camera's like, whoa. Like, I can do like a Tom Cruise, like Mission Impossible. Oh, no, Matrix. Keanu Reeves, man, off the camera, but it's not off the camera. That's how wide we're going. We're going wide, buddy. So we'll quickly fix that. We'll move over, get your questions ready, and we'll get straight into it. Maybe the camera's like moving itself. Have I ever thought of that? I thought I moved it and the camera was slowly moving. Maybe no one noticed that. Okay, I noticed that now. Okay. There we go. No more camera drift. That's a real thing. You know, that's a real problem nowadays, is camera drift. Earl Grey and not green tea. Yeah. So past midday, I drink decaffeinated Earl Grey. Before midday, I'll drink green tea. And so there's a little bit of caffeine in that, man. Like, this brain of mine, man, this thing's like on perpetual cycle, man. I need to calm this thing down. Like, it's just constantly pinging off on all cylinders. And caffeine, especially after midday, really makes the brain fire up and you can't get to sleep at night. So that's one thing about that. So, yeah. Hopefully, lag. Okay, if YouTube's got some lag as well. People have been telling me about YouTube having some lag, so... Yeah, so I come back and still... No, we're moving on to Q&A now. So we've finished all the topics, guys, and we're on to Q&A. So will you take a break from covering the high-end stuff and make some builds that your viewers can actually eat? Yeah, so thanks, Travis, for the question. We will get, as soon as I get back to Oz, man, I got a heap of budget stuff lined up. We're going to do the parts hunt in Oz. I messaged my friend who works, he's got the recycling yard. We're going to be going to the dumpsters, and we're going to be picking out some real good dumpster stuff, and that's going to be entertaining. So hopefully we can build some $100 PCs, $200 PCs, and they actually play games really well. So what's the best way for an individual to fight against inflation? Yeah, see, it's tricky, man. Wherever you go right now, you know, wherever you go right now for fighting inflation, it just depends. Like, you're going to get different opinions. For me at the moment, I think silver and platinum are undervalued. I've said this publicly. I think the yen's undervalued as well. For instance, if you look at the Japanese yen, sometimes you can see these crazy drop downs, and that's what, like, I coin it the term margin catastrophe. If you may see the yen just appreciate 1,000 pips against the Aussie dollar, for instance, but these things can happen. So what I'm doing to fight inflation, so to speak, is I'm buying Japanese yen and I'm buying silver and platinum. So that's what I'm doing. It's not financial advice. None of that's financial advice, just what I'm doing. And I tell people that. So again, as long as you're not losing money, that's the whole thing. The main point is going through this, if monetary conditions are getting tighter, as long as you're not losing money. Now, speaking, you guys are starting to talk about crypto, right? Wow. That one's been so far just insane, because even though Bitcoin's holding up its value, right? If we look at the price of a Bitcoin's held up its value, I would say really well, given all things, right? I think these prices up here, if you were buying a Bitcoin at 60,000, that was absurd. Like, because of the price increase, that was just FOMO coming into the markets. As soon as you saw this price here in a bull market, you should have realized something was awfully wrong, which I was reporting on last year when these prices dropped down. I was reporting something was awfully wrong with the markets around here. That was June last year. This right here now is coming. I'm surprised it's still holding up so well. Bitcoin's holding up extremely well given all things. But the problem here with crypto, and the biggest problem, is these exchanges. I think, what was it, I read a thing about Coinbase bonds, and they're selling for like 52 cents on the dollar. There was something about the Coinbase bonds, and it was ridiculous, man. Like, in other words, the market is severely pricing Coinbase to perhaps have a big problem. 52 cents, there it is, 50 cents. It went down to 50 cents on the dollar. So if you've got your money in Coinbase right now, I mean, I'm just giving you guys straight up advice. If you got your money in Coinbase right now, and there's money on that exchange, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, doggy coins, I mean, have your doggy coins in your personal wallet. Have it off these exchanges. Do not keep money on these exchanges. You already saw FTX went bankrupt with people's hard-earned money gone. So even if you had 5 Bitcoin and it's worth 100 grand or whatever, you got nothing because that company went bankrupt and took your 5 Bitcoin. Now, Coinbase, this is the latest one to draw attention. Now, people say, oh, Coinbase. People say, oh, Coinbase, man, this is not going down, man. This is 100%, dude. Coinbase not going under. Well, the market is pricing in some significant risk for Coinbase. That's what you need to understand right now. So if I had money on Coinbase, I would be very, and I mean extremely nervous. I'd be taking my money off, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, doggy coins. I'd be getting it off that exchange. So that's just advice, man, because again, I can't stand it when the average person loses their money, man. They work hard for this stuff. We're all like, the economy's made up of normal dudes like you and me. We work hard. And why would we want to give it for some kid who's playing League of Legends in the Bahamas, living off basically the average person's income and money? That's the sad reality of it. That's the truth. So yeah, I'm going to keep preaching this stuff because I want people to, I guess, the more monetary conditions tighten as well, the better it is, because again, the sooner you return to sound money, the sooner the economy turns back to actually valuing things properly, right? If you had extremely strong money to begin with, before all this money printing in 2021, before all this money printing, if you had an extremely strong dollar, do you think people would be throwing it at doggy coins? No, they'd be like, hang on, just hold back a second here. I'm just going to hold the line. I'm not buying any doggy coins. But people saw that. They go, oh man, I got, stimmy check, bang, $700 on a doggy coins. And then so some of these people lost all their money. So crazy, right? Crazy. So here it is, Coinbase, the next risky one as well. So yeah, guys, I mean, I've been like, man, I try not to go, but you guys asked this one, you guys wanted us to talk about cryptos. So I don't involve myself with it, but I'm very fond, very familiar with it. So I did delve into it years ago. Are you guys thankful that I delved into this stuff a few years ago? I mean, people are like, I remember I was copping hate about it in 2017, 2018, but I'm glad I dived into it because I really got to see through crypto and see that some of it's really good. Don't get me wrong. Some of crypto is really good, but the majority of it right now is hype, BS, and Ponzi schemes. And thanks, Cheeks, for the $5 Aussie donation, brother. Thank you. Hopefully that $5 is, maybe you're getting your money off Coinbase right now. It's like a thank you, Brian. I'm getting my money off Coinbase. Could have saved this man thousands. That's hopefully the reality there. So Tech City, now is the time to buy a GPU, a graphics card. So I think now, if we look at your graphics card prices, right, it's always a good time if the price is right. So this is what I was going to make a tweet about this actually. Okay, so I actually watch your financial vids over your normal ones these days, Brian. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. You guys are awesome like that. I keep giving you guys the information as I see it, but I'm gonna say I'm doing pretty well, right? If you ask me personally, I haven't lost any money, and that's what I mean. I didn't gain in 2021. I didn't gain much money, except I got a rental, which is renting out, gain money off that, but that's a solid investment. I got there's certain things that I have and I do personally, but in terms of getting involved in these doggy coins and stuff like that, man, I just ignored it. I was like, wow, this is going to end badly. So, always play. If you go, the way to look at investing is the best way to look at it. If you guys have ever played Texas Hold'em poker, this is the best way to look at it. You'll notice there'll be guys that come on the table, right? And they can play super aggressive. They can win so much money really quickly. But I guarantee you that person who plays that aggressively, a lot of the times they end up losing it all. And they tilt. All these emotions come into play. They get so used to making so much money, and then they tilt and they lose it all. And that's what's happening in the crypto space especially. But you'll notice most poker players who win are slow and steady. They're just calm. They just slow and steady. Look at the investment. Look at what you're buying. Just like that calm and collected poker player. Look at your opponent. Look at what he's got. And look at how he's been playing, right? This is the biggest thing about poker, right? Texas Hold'em. Look at that player. Watch them on the table, right? And then apply statistics to how they're playing, right? Because they're not going to be getting pocket aces every hand they pull. They're going to be getting sometimes a 7 deuce. But if they're playing aggressive every hand, and then you come up on a good hand, statistically, you've got an advantage then against that player. So that's basically Texas Hold'em in a nutshell. So do your investing as well the same way. Look at that asset you're buying. Look at its history. Look at who needs it. Look at who wants to buy it. And so for me, like again, there's only 2 shining stars right now. That's silver and platinum, because the cost to produce platinum, I think the last time I checked, even before COVID, was like, pull it out of the ground was like $880 an ounce. Now, could you imagine with all this inflation, how much it costs to pull an ounce of platinum out of the ground now? Again, you're not really losing there. You can't really lose. So silver, love that as well. Similar argument. And very undervalued. So they're my 2 things. I've got some of those. And then, yeah, I've got to play. So again, slow and steady, fellas. Slow and steady. But one thing's for sure is you want to be buying real assets. Real things that you can hold. And that's going to be a lot better going forward. I think we've come to the age of paper money and cryptos and doggy coins. I think that's coming to an end when people actually need real assets and the demand for real assets picks up. So hopefully there's the investment side of the stream to give you guys some just some sound, solid advice. And if someone's coming at you with some mad idea to double your money or triple your money, I'd just ignore it. It's only if it's your best friend. If your best friend's got some really good business idea and the business works out and it can provide real benefits to other people in the community, yeah, you might want to invest in that. But either way, investing on the ground and real assets is going to be the way going forward. So, yeah. Anyhow, guys, graphics cards. Should you buy a graphics card right now? And so we'll actually answer that question. Would I buy an RTX 4080? Absolutely not. I think the prices will come down on that. 4090, again, that's up to you. I mean, if you're looking for value, you're not really, the value lies right now. I mean, this is just eBay as a basic example. A lot of the value is lying in like the 3060 Ti and stuff like that. So RTX 3060 Ti, $275. That's on free bid. But I mean, if we look at sold listings, I guarantee you we'll find some extremely good examples of $285. So that's on eBay, right? So locally, you would be maybe even able to pick up a 3060 Ti for $250. So how good's that? How good is that? So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try and look around. But for me right now, 3060 Ti, fantastic card if you want to go a little bit cheaper and you're on a budget. RX 6600, just a go-to card. Phenomenal. Personally, I wouldn't be... Yeah, so someone's paying around under $200. Yeah, $170. Look at that. Decent price. You can get the mobile edition as well on AliExpress for a similar price, but $170. Great graphics cards. $250 for 3060 Ti, maybe $170. That would be my picks right now. So loving both those graphics cards, especially if you're a value hunter. So Tokyo City, how do you match the right GPU for CPU to minimize bottleneck, especially on old hardware? On the older hardware, you have to extract the most out of it. So if it's an X58, you've got to overclock that thing. But because the settings were so conservative to begin with on those CPUs, you can, even in a linear fashion, get that performance out of it. And in fact, might even get better than linear performance because, again, the out-of-the-box settings weren't that optimized. They're optimized with ATX in line, ATX standards, which have a lot of V-droop in there. So that's... In terms of matching the CPUs and GPUs, though, it's all up. A lot of it's up here, fellas. A lot of it's up in the head from testing over the years. I know roughly. So when I look for a new graphics card, for instance, I'm like, okay, how does that perform against the 1080 Ti? Because I know, for instance, maxing out a 1080 Ti, the most you'd want a couple of 1080 Ti with was like a 6700K. So if the 6600 is then performing similar to a 1080 Ti, it's like, okay, 6700K is the most you want to go with. Like the least you'll want to go with an RX 6600, if that makes any sense. Then comparing the 6700 XT, 6700 i7 CPU to, this is all in the head, right? Comparing that to the latest stuff, 12100, right? Good CPU, good coupling. There's your new school coupling, all off head math. So hopefully that is explaining a bit of it for you. Cheeks, Aussie dollars, $5. Thanks for the donation, brother. G'day, Brian. Chat, quick question. What would you pay Oz for a secondhand Nitro 50? i5, 11400, 16GB, 1TB SSD, 1650, 4GB gaming. If it's in that stock Nitro case, man, the Nitro 50s are a hard sell, brother. Like, depends if you're buying or selling. If I was buying, man, I wouldn't be paying much for this thing. Like, it's a real ugly looking case. Like, not just from a personal standpoint, but even from flipping this thing. There's no side panel there. There's very, like, what were they thinking when they designed the Nitro 50? Like, who designed the case on this thing? Because, man, like, I think my 10-year-old son could have done a better design in like 5 minutes, and it would look infinitely better than this. So the case looks hideous. The specs are okay, but someone's bidding $350 US for it. So that's what it's sold for. So if you were going local, you'd have a look at that. $350 US to Aussie dollars, because he's in Australia. Around $500. I mean, that might not be the answer you want to hear if you're selling it, but the market's already sold one recently at 500 Aussie dollars. So hopefully that answers that question. So Brian, any idea if monitor technology will step up in the 4K 32-inch OLED department, especially now that the RTX 49 is available? Yeah, we've got 4K. I don't know about 4K because the problem with OLED, right? The biggest problem with OLED, so we'll go over to the big screen. The problem with OLED and pixel density is that the closer you mash those OLEDs together, the more heat and the more it is to get burn-in under control. So 32-inch OLED high refresh, kind of going to be difficult. But that's why you've got the 1440p ultra-wides at the moment coming out at 240 Hz, because the pixel density is still, I believe it would be similar to, say, even a 42-inch 4K OLED. So they're already down to 4K, but in terms of dropping it all the way down to 32-inch, it's a hard ask. I don't know when that would be coming out, but again, you have to control burn-in expectations on OLEDs, and I would have no idea, but at least from what I'm observing with OLEDs, the reason they've stayed on the big screens is heat dissipation. So maybe, you never know, maybe there might be some kind of crazy tech that they bring out with OLEDs where you've got fans on the OLEDs. That'd be really interesting to see. So I bought a 6700 XT for $520 new a couple of months ago. Okay, it's pretty expensive, my man. That's pretty expensive. Could have got it for a little bit cheaper. So I like the 6700 XT, and I like them at $300. That's what they're going for. Used, even new, I saw them going for really cheap. So not a bad card. Again, when you're at $500, 6700 XT, you're not going to lose. Like, there's not much to lose there, and it's a great card. So even if you paid like that much in the market, it's gone down a bit. You've been gaming on a good graphics card for all that time too. So sup, Brian? Hey man, sup? What is going on, Josh? And $600 6900 XTs is amazing. Mafia 600 flat. Okay, you guys are going off on your own tangents here, and you guys are going off. Yeah. Okay, thoughts on RX 7000 series. So the moment I've actually been looking for this. I've been looking for leaked benchmarks on the RX 7900X. And apparently this is like video cards. I do go to video cards sometimes. They've got some great info. But we got, apparently the board partners are delaying. Apparently this is really rushed. And they're really rushing to get this out before Christmas. So I don't know what to expect from the 7900. I just hope, again, it's better to delay something and get it right. It's much better, and especially when it comes to graphics cards, drivers, much better to delay something, get it right, than it is to rush it out and have it be an absolute cluster F on release. That's all. So I hope AMD at least get their reference models right on day one in terms of performance and what we can expect in various cards. But this one's really wait and see, fellas. I mean, like I said on Moore's Law is Dead podcast, when I was on that podcast, I said I predict around 30 to 40%. That's just the street neko in me. If you guys know what a street neko is, it's the Japanese local street cat. And I've been inspired by the street neko to keep things real on the streets. So my gut's telling me 30 to 40%. Tom seems to think it's going to be like 50 to 60%. So we'll see. Just wait and see if the performance updates are that big. So also on other news, actually, we forgot to mention this. AMD's launching apparently got some Lenovo leaked the cat out of the bag here. And there's a 7900 and 7700 already taped out. So if we look at what I find is a little bit weird is the speeds are the same. So the product number's different, but the speeds are the same. So it's like, is AMD just releasing okay, there's a 100 megahertz drop in the top speed on the 7. Okay, 100 megahertz drop in the single core top speed, but apparently the all cores will be lower as well. TDP's lower. And I mean, you can already get a 7700X for cheaper. So 7900's coming right around where the 7900X is currently selling for. So I was looking for the 3D models. That was the big one I was looking for here. The AM4 3D CPUs, and there's no official word on those yet. I think there's no actual official word on those yet. So I was really looking forward to them. But do you guys think with the amount of level 2 plus level 3 cache on the AM5 CPUs, I mean, the AM5 CPUs are pretty good gaming CPUs as they are. It's just, do you think AMD is going to have, say, not as big, like if we grab a 5800 versus a 5800X, the 5800X can really get some big gains, huge gains in games. Do you think you will see that difference this time around with, say, the 7700X, for instance, versus the 7800X 3D? That remains to be seen, or even versus a 7900X. So I'm hoping AMD does get this CPU out as soon as possible. I think a lot of gamers are waiting for the X3D, but there's really not a whole lot of news, and they sort of like a 7700 and a 7600, like these CPUs are kind of like the market doesn't want, I don't want to see this. I want to see the X3Ds. So yeah. Anyhow, back to the question at hand. Back to the questions, fellas. I just got to check as well. I do have to start preparing as well. So lots of preparation before we go back on. I also want to get a vlog for you guys done, because people have asked me about my suitcase, and more specifically traveling with PC parts and what the go is there. So in terms of me, I think clothes are really cheap right now. Like in Japan, I can go clothes shopping, especially down the cheap places, and get like a jumper. This jumper, I got it for like $5. I mean, not the most fashionable jumper, but still nice and comfy, nice and warm, from a brand called Gap, and not a bad jumper. So clothes are cheap, tech's expensive. So my suitcase is getting filled up with tech, and then the clothes will just be like really cheap. Actually, speaking of Black Friday, you can get some good deals on clothes. I got some socks for like $3.50 for some, Reebok socks, and they got the thick bottoms on them, man. I love wearing socks. Just a little bit of a confession. Love wearing socks all the time too, all the time. Except in the shower. I'm not going to wear it in the shower. And then people are saying, dude, I love Tech Yes City. Don't get the name, but love saying it. Thanks, brothers. I don't get the name either. Dadman doesn't get the name either. Tech Yes City just came to be. It's just how things went about. That's all it was. Tech Yes City just came to be. It was just a name that was brainstormed, and I went with it. So hopefully, and people, once in history, this is a true story, I changed from Tech Yes City to Tech City, and every single video I uploaded, everyone was just like, bring back the yes. Tech Yes City, bring it back. It was just an overwhelming response to bring back Tech Yes City. So that's what happened with the name, and we just rolled with it. Before that was Brian Easy as well. That was when I first started. So you're moving back to Australia. What about new setup behind you? Yeah, so this just gets left behind. So what I've got is just like this apartment as well. We got this whole apartment. I would love to maybe make a vlog outside of tech, because I got this apartment for Like USD, I got a 3-bedroom apartment with in Japan, fully renovated for like USD wise, it'd be like 35,000 or something, 40,000 USD. And it's in a good location. Like this ain't no crappy location that I'm at. Really good location. So in terms of real estate, like this place is just dirt cheap. So it was like, you know, hustled an apartment. So don't have to worry too much about this setup here. It just gets left behind. So are you going to, no, so the parts all come back on a suitcase. Obviously I can't bring, when I'm traveling, I can't bring cases. A, they're just too big. B, then you're going to get real big eyeballs on you, right? If you get some big, like you're going to have some big eyeballs on you. Like, Brian, why are you like, they're going to go through customs? Like, what's your name? Why are you bringing all these PC cases back? So cases are the one thing that's too difficult. But everything else, like graphics cards, CPUs, RAM, all that stuff's coming back on a bag, like in the suitcase. That's coming back. So that's it. It's the Empire Brothers. You guys love it. So, so do you think there will be any new AM4 3D CPU other than the 5800X 3D? I'm actually only predicting, I've heard rumors of a 7900X 3D, but I'm only predicting a 7800X 3D. That's all I'm predicting. I mean, the evidence is right here. If we just look at the simple answer, it's only going to be a 7800X 3D. Why? Because the naming's already taped out. 7700, 7800, X3D is better than the 8-core. It's going to be the 7800X 3D. I think you're going to see one model in that range, and that's it. And that's all that you're going to get. Because I think AMD, like, if you guys didn't know, the caching on the CPU is actually pretty expensive. That stuff ain't cheap. So to produce that, they've really got to pull out stops. So they don't want to give you a whole lot of that stuff. But with the X3D, they need a whole lot of that stuff. So it's really expensive. So if there is a 7950 X3D, I'd love to see it. But I'd love to. I think the 7800 X3D is going to be the model you'll see, definitely. So that's all I'm predicting there. I think we're only going to see one of those. So yeah, better to keep it simple too. So it ain't cheap to manufacture those CPUs versus the other ones. That's all. Basically, the cost of that cache that they put on board is actually pretty expensive. And it's funny actually because I think Intel did a similar thing. Was it the 5770K back in the day? The Broadwell, that was like an X3D. I think it's funny why Intel didn't really do anything with the similar structure as I think they released. Was it the 5770K? Broadwell? Yeah, the Broadwell 5700 or this one was like such an enigma of a CPU, Broadwell. And you couldn't find much information on it. And it had a huge level 4 cache on it. 5775C, that's the one. And it was just never released because the performance wasn't that great overall. But a lot of people reported that the 0.1% and 1% lows were fantastic on this CPU on a motherboard that could support it. So kind of Intel did have a CPU out a long time ago, but they should have really, I don't know, they could have really done a whole lot more with that and made something that could compete. Like, I don't know, because a lot of gamers love 1% and 0.1% lows. I do love it too. I want something that's going to always keep those stuttering issues aside and keep them out of the games. So there it is. X3D target gaming, there it is. Impractical to go higher than 8 cores. I do believe so too, as well as the, I mean, a lot of gamers do prefer the 8-core option anyway with the lower latency. So just a, you know, nanoseconds argument, but yeah. Hopefully they do release the 7600 X3D, but maybe it'll be the 7650 X3D. So Tech Yes City, fix or flop? Do you guys want to see us try to repair some PCs as well when we're back in Australia? If that's what you guys want, I can try make something happen. I'm all ears for content. Always want to give you guys the content you want to see. So don't worry about that. Got asked, even if GPU prices drop more, do you think we need the RTX 4000 for current gen video games? At 1080p and 1440p, I don't really think so, unless you're going for that new, is it the 40, where's the 240 hertz OLED? unless you're going for this, the 1440p Ultra gear, I don't think you will need such a beastly graphics card. You'd probably want an RTX 4080 for this, or a 4090, but even then, that's if you're playing at max settings. But this thing's actually going to be really good. I'm actually so keen to get my hands on one of these just to check it out. It's like the first time we've seen a small, like, desk size IPS monitor. So really looking forward to this one. So you guys are saying, okay, you want to see a fix or flop. Okay, I have to talk, like, would I just rip Greg's title off? Like, you know, Greg Salazar. So would I just rip his title off, like fix or flop bootleg edition? Featuring the Aussie tech tuber who's just ripping off Greg's series. Do I just contact Greg and go, yo, Mr. Salazar, I'm going to rip your series off? I mean, apparently as long as I'm transparent, it's okay. So I'll ask Greg. You guys want it. You guys want it in the chat. If you guys want it, I can make it happen. Just rip Greg off. So just as long as I tell him, like, I'll just call it fix. What's a bootleg name for fix or flop? Fix or blop. Fix or blobby. You remember the fix or blobby? You know the little blobby guy, the blobby. So yeah, so we'll get that one. I think we can even check out blobby. Oh wait, is it? We'll just see where he is. Blobby. Mr. Blobby, there he is. Fix or blobby, and this is the one we get blobby. Fix or blobby, and that's what we do for the. That's what it is. Fix or blobby. Then we just bootleg it off Greg. Yes or no? Fix Tech City. Fix or yes or flop. Okay, yes or flop. Gear or garbage. Trash or treasure. I like trash or treasure, man. That's what I'm all about. But for me, really anything in tech, as long as it can boot up, is like treasure. So, and then I just call it Science Studio. So, repair or recycle. Okay. Fix or nix. Thanks for the behind the scenes, man. Thanks for the behind the scenes support, Mark. Really appreciate it, brother. And if it will exist, it will be $500. The X3D. I think you guys are talking about the X3D. But yeah, really good. Good to see smaller OLEDs are in the works. I'm really curious to see how that LG 27-inch spans out. But a lot of you guys, I can see the sentiment in the comments. A lot of guys want the budget stuff, like really bad. So I'm going to be definitely focused. That was the plan in Australia, is to focus on that stuff, perhaps even bring to Japan a heap of that hustle and then try and mix and match the good hustle. For instance, in Japan, I already know the weaknesses here. Getting CPUs is kind of hard, especially used i7s. They're usually overpriced here. SSDs are overpriced. RAM is overpriced in general compared to Australia, especially on the used scene. Motherboards can be had for pretty cheap. Okay, but graphics cards are really cheap here at the moment in Japan. So graphics card prices are pretty good, especially on the used market. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I intend to go to Australia, hustle anything I can. And then with the suitcase, I'll bring back some of that smaller items like CPUs and RAM and see if I can make some flips happen over here. I believe the 2080 Ti or 6800 would be the greatest options for digital art and animations, as the RTX 3090 is a bit pricey for me, paying less than $500. What do you think? Depends on the again, look at the program. If it's for professional work, look at the program that you're going to do the majority of your work on and try and find a benchmark for that program. And does NVIDIA or does AMD OpenCL work better? So find that out. Get the graphics card that's going to work best for you, my man, because the 2080 Ti should be cheaper than the 6800 on the used market. It should be. But if the RX 6800 is a lot faster, which it should be, if you're just looking at base performance, raw performance, then that would be worth going with. So, okay. So hopefully that's the answer that helps you out. So it depends on... and then we got here, Jethro. I used to date a girl who had a phobia of Mr. Blobby. Are we just going, so you know this stream is ending? You know the stream's coming to an end where we start going into dating advice on a tech stream, okay? So we got finance, tech, and then we move on into dating advice. So yeah, if you dated a woman who was blobby phobia, man, you gotta sit it down and say, well, what's wrong with Blobby, man? What's wrong with Mr. Blobby? Like, look, terrible costume, but hey, like, look, looks like COVID. Yeah, it could be. I mean, maybe Blobby was predicting the future, right? But there's no reason to be scared of Blobby, the character himself. Like, poor Blobby. So, yeah, so we can go on to some dating advice too. Are you keeping the apartment? Yeah, keeping the apartment. Definitely keeping the apartment. I wanted to, people asked me about, like, people were just I got direct emails, people wanting me to rent them out my apartment while I'm not here as well. The problem with that at the moment is I don't know the legal situation in Japan, because apparently I need some like hotel license or something to be able to host people in this place. Weird. I've got to look into that. If someone knows like a Japanese lawyer I can speak to, that would be fantastic, because I'd love to just like hustle these apartments, renovate them, and then give people like such a cheap marketplace price for staying in Japan, like maybe 1 or 2 months at a time. So, I mean, I can do the hustle while I'm here. It's just the legal, I don't want to get into any legal trouble. So I could maybe make it happen for like $1,200 US a month for someone to stay in Japan. Everything, nothing else. They don't need to pay for power, water, gas. It's all hooked up, and internet. And I know a lot of tourists would want that. They'd want to come to Japan and not have any hassles and have a nice, like, big place while they're staying here. So I've been looking into that. It's just the legal side has been holding me back, because I don't want to go into this and be like, well, Brian, you can't do that service. You can't provide that legally. And because I know on Airbnb in Japan, you can only rent out for 180 days per year. So, yeah. So in terms of subletting's okay. It's just like, dude, I'm an introvert, like at heart. Like, as much as you guys don't believe it, and I've told people in the past, pretty introverted, man. So like, I do like the tech yes recharge time, right? I don't know, if I had like just other dudes living with me in this place while I'm, say for instance, trying to chill out, play a game of Dota, or I'm doing some finance research and someone's chewing an apple in the background, I'll just be like, stop chewing that apple. It's a weird thing. So I'd like to just get places and rent them out to the individuals, and so they can have the whole place to themselves, because that's like what I would want if I was traveling. So, I mean, I guess the whole premise of Tech Yes City is I do what I would think other people want, because that's what I would want. So Japan or Aussie for best prices while flipping. Who pays the most for? Oh, Aussie, man. Australian's easy, man. You can just look at the camera market in Australia. The used camera market was terrible. I was looking for a used camera in Australia recently. I think it was like, even just the used camera, right? I didn't even show you guys, maybe even pull this up. I was looking at the A7C, right? Sony A7C. Here it is here. So this is brand new, right? Look at this. You get $200 cash back. So you buy it, you can get 30% off. So you can get it under $2,100. You can get this is Aussie dollars too. So and then you get $200 cash back. So you get this for 1,900 Aussie dollars, brand new, right? That's for an A7C right now. That's the deal on eBay. So 1,900 Aussie dollars. And you've got here, that is 1,270 USD. Sorry, you guys can't see. Yeah. The framing's a bit weird on this one. I do apologize, but there it is there. 1,270 US dollars. 1,270 US dollars for an A7C. That's why I can get brand new. So why would I want to buy a used camera where some dude's probably had his greed? I mean, in Australia, anything could happen. You could have hamburger hands on that thing. So this guy's at $2,000 used. Why would I buy that for you? I can get it brand new, bro, for $1,900. Like, once I get all the discounts. Why would I buy you $100? Like, some of the used pricing at the moment's messed up. And people are buying. Like, if we go to sold items, like just in Australia for a camera, again, research, man. Research, my bros. Someone paid $1,800 for it. On bid, free bid. Someone paid $2,700. I think they got ripped off there. $2,200. Pre-owned, used. This guy's paying $300 more than I can get it for a camera used than I can get it for new. So I think at the moment in Australia, it's ripe pickings. Easy pickings. Like the easiest pickings for selling used products in Australia. So Yeah, so saw the video on the vlogging cam. Thanks, Josh. I think Josh524, man. Sorry, dude. The giveaway problems, man. I got to contact you about that. My God, you were patient. Sorry, dude. Whoa. Sorry, Josh. Josh never got a motherboard. I promised from a giveaway. Like, it's all... Oh, man. It's like through the... This is the problem. When I do giveaways, I think I'm only going to like guarantee giveaways from ASRock or some other... Like, I think Gigabyte was like this X670 board, a Z690 board. Sorry, I forgot the board, and I promised him the board, but it was through, I think it was through Gigabyte that was going to send it, and they never sent it. So sorry, Josh, I will get onto that when I get back to Australia, man. I just don't have a Gigabyte contact in Japan. Terribly sorry about that, brother. I just remembered seeing your name, 524. So sorry about that. But yeah, used prices in Australia right now, overpriced. So just sell anything used right now, because clearly, if I just look at this, I mean, it's probably one example that's a bad example. But if I look at this, right, at the moment, the consumer is still in Australia quite dumb for buying used versus new. That's the reality. I wouldn't pay, like, if I can get this for $1,900 off of deals, why would I buy this? Why would I buy this, right? Why would I buy this? I mean, sorry, why would I buy a used camera versus used? There's just no point. There's just absolutely zero logic. So the market right now is just absolutely atrocious for used if I was to do that indicator. So yeah, I'm selling all this used stuff. So there it is there. Anything used, just sell it right now if you don't need it, especially if you don't need it. So just sell that stuff. So there it is there, taking some examples. Let's have a look at gaming PCs. Say for instance, RTX 3080 gaming PC. This is what's going on in Australia, right? I just want local. So item location, Australia only. Let's have a look. So $1,800. Okay. Do it yourself. Wow, someone paid 5,900 Aussie dollars, and it's used for a 3080 Ti gaming system, man. Wow. I hope this keeps up when I get back to Australia. I'll be selling PCs on eBay too. Who cares with the fees? This is an absolutely, like, someone's taken someone to the cleaners with this, man. That's insane. Pre-owned. It's used. Someone took someone to the cleaners here. Let's have a look. I want to see the original. I can't believe this. Who got taken to the cleaners here? Do it yourself. So, in other words, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Oh, no. He's got a 9912 gen, but I mean, 32 gigs of RAM. There's like no real specs on here. 2 terabyte SSD. But I mean, just to give you guys a 3080 Ti system, how much did he pay for that? Let's have a look. How much he... Man, I'm looking forward to going back to Australia. I was kind of like... I was a little bit nervous, but after seeing this, I'm like, wow, man, this is going to be easy pickings, man, if people are paying that much. Sorry, I was talking about the NUC as well. So people are asking about mini ITX builds as well. So we're going to kind of pull up our 5899 AUD to USD. So someone in Australia paid 3,000, almost 4,000 US dollars for a 3080 Ti gaming PC. I cannot believe that. Yeah, I mean, they just don't do their research, man. But that's what I mean. Like, that kind of dumb money, like, I mean, just be honest, that's pretty dumb money. That dumb money will be siphoned out of the system soon enough. So when conditions tighten up, people will tighten up their purchasing decisions too. But it looks like in Australia, at least for this Christmas, it's going to be easy pickings. So... Man, I'm still in shock, guys. Sorry if I sound a bit like in shock, because I am in shock after seeing that one. Man, wow. $4,000 for a US dollars for a 3080 Ti. Like, what? My goodness. That is some serious biz right there, right? So we're looking at that, man, just completely out of nowhere, left field. Just a shocker. What else is there? What else have people gotten? I mean, yeah, there you go there, RTX 3080. Why did the dude not look at the listing below it and save some money? I mean, my goodness. Like, looks like the exact same specs, except a 1 terabyte drive. This guy got the Ti for an extra $2,900. He could have got a 4090, dude. Could have got a 4090 and everything. Just like, could have got this PC and chucked a 4090 in it for that price and kept his 3080. Wow, man. But it looks like some of the other PCs are selling it like, that's a, like you can, if you can get some good parts together, pre-owned, see that there. If you can get some good parts together, that's pre-owned. So used PC, 5700X, you can get some decent profits like on the high. It looks like things are moving. So there you go. Wow. All right, guys. So that just, yeah, that was painful, man. That was painful to see someone paid that much for a 3080 Ti system. But this is why when you see, I think like you see like guys like us, when we call out these higher sales, some people are paying those prices, right? Man, some people are getting hosed. I mean, whatever, but wow. So Caleb Ewan, he asks, oh, Yuan, sorry. Sprinkle some RGB on them PCs and it's raining dough. Yeah, that's pretty much the guide. Like that's the how to flip a PC. i7, i9, Ryzen 7, Ryzen 9, mad cores, mad threads, 32 gigabytes of RAM RGB. Get yourself a sale. At Tech City, will you be bringing back some of your PCs you haven't flipped to Australia? So I do have some PCs here. I will admit, I do have some PCs here. I got to figure out what to do with them. I was going to open them up because I already sold one to someone in Japan. Someone already asked me for a PC in Japan. I gave them a good deal, a really good deal. So I was thinking about opening up the PCs I build in Japan, opening them up to viewers and selling them to viewers at close to cost price. So there'll be a little bit of money on top there for my hustle. But say, for instance, $100 on top. And I just start, because you're getting really good deals. I'm taking the risk, of course. Sometimes I will come into a part and it will be bad. I know it will be bad. So I will come into a part and it will be bad. And so that's the risk. That's why I have to charge a little bit of juice on top. But I'm thinking about offering PCs to people in Japan who live here, want to get them, because the shipping here is like $15, $20. I'll offer them to people in Japan for really good prices. If you guys, like, if any of you are in Japan and you want to entertain that, let me know. So, whew, we had a big one, guys. We're going to be winding down the stream pretty soon. And it's been a good one. Man, it's been great. You guys really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed it too. I'm going to see you we got one more video coming as well. So we got one more video coming about X670. I promised ASRock sent over the gear. I promised I'd do them a video with X670. The verdict is it's expensive, overpriced for some of the motherboards. One of the motherboards is pretty good, but the problem with, and this is something, I don't know if anyone else has talked about this with the 7950X, one thing I discovered was that the 4 sticks of memory, right? If you're making a proper workstation with the 7950X and you're going with especially 128 gigabytes across 4 DIMMs, you may want to be careful with the 7950X. I could like barely get 4 sticks of memory to boot. And in that video, I'm going to showcase that. I could barely get 128 gigabytes of DDR5 to boot on an X670. So that is the weakness of the 7950X, is its IMC. The integrated memory controller may be a factor that you want to consider if you're going with a new build. As opposed to the Intel, I managed to get 5600 megahertz, 5800 megahertz stable across 128 gigabytes, 4 DIMMs. So that's a huge difference. That's like 1.2 gigahertz difference in memory speeds on DDR5 across populated DIMMs. So there's that. Maybe that's, but we'll go more into it in tomorrow's video. That's the one I'm going to upload. Then I got to get ready, jump on a plane, going to be tired as, and I got to go see the dumpster. That's the first trip. Okay, guys, we'll close out soon this stream. But before we go, the first trip I'm organizing when I get back to Australia is the dumpster. How is that? So you guys were asking for more used parts. I'm going to be organizing the dumpster as soon as I get back. So there you go. We're getting straight back into it when we get back. Dumpster diving, budget PCs. It's all coming, guys. So, yeah. All right. Anyhow, hopefully this stream has been entertaining for everyone out there. Hope you really enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in wherever you are in the world. This will be the final live stream for Japan. We're closing this one up. And farewell, Japan. Hello, Australia. And it's going to be Dumpster Yes City coming back. So going to be very different. I may even I'll do a vlog for you guys. You guys want to see a vlog as well from going back to Australia, but I'll talk about a heap of different things in that, and we'll keep the ground up approach on this channel intact. So yeah, straight back into the dumpster, baby. That's where it's where I belong. In a good way, right? In a good way. That's where I belong. So you can make the jokes in the comments, but I'm heading straight to that dumpster, and I'm loving it too. You know, I was going to say, I was going to get my dream car as well, a $1,000 Danger. In Australia, sorry, we call a Danger a budget, a car. But I was just going to get a Danger, and it doesn't matter, right? If you open the door into concrete wall and the door's damaged, like when I'm hustling, I'm very loose. So if I got a Danger, I don't have to worry about ripping up the interior on the car, being, eating a cheeseburger while I'm driving. You don't have to worry about that stuff in a Danger. So I'm looking forward to getting an absolute crap car. And yeah, going into the dumpsters, man. How weird is it? Some people want to be on a yacht and they want to, and here I am, I want to go back into the dumpster and get a $1,000 car and go around. So, yeah, so how old is this man? 45. No, I'm 37, brother. 37, but I got to dye my hair again soon, make myself look younger. So that's coming as well. The missus likes that one, so. TYC MCC crossover. I don't know, maybe. Those guys are really hard to get a hold of. And if anything, if they're doing YouTube, Mighty Car Mods, oh sorry, MCM was it? If they're doing anything like that, they're probably extremely busy for Christmas. So I've been meaning to team up with Salmon in Japan, but we just never got around to that as well. So did want to hang out with some of the car guys because I love cars. But that was it. So away we go. Anyhow, brothers, I will catch you in the next video very soon. And thank you for joining in. The Tech Yes Silver. That's it. The Silver Fox. I wish, the thing about the silver hair, before we go, I wish I just had it all silver, right? I'm one of those guys that's just a straight shooter. I want my hair either all silver, just all one color. And I can't find any all silver hair dye. It's like impossible to find. I was going to dye my hair all silver, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So the market, there is a demand in the market from at least one dude. I just want to go all silver, but I can't. So in the meantime, I got salt and pepper. Salt and pepper's here. All right, guys, you've tuned in enough. I'm going to close on out and get ready to pack and all that. So you're going to get pissed when you get to Aussie land. Oh, man, the beers are a lot cheaper in Costco too. The beers in Costco in Japan here, there's a Costco like 5-minute drive from me. The beers are actually really cheap. Case of Corona, 40 Aussie dollars. Case of Corona, right? Case of Corona. How much is a case of Corona in Australia right now? Like 70 Aussie dollars or something? Probably be ridiculous with inflation. So no hope to buy something cheap anymore. People paying crazy. I know, so we covered a lot of the stories. Basically, we'll sum up. We'll just quickly cap off the live stream. Then we're gone. Sum things up. There's factors on both sides. I can't tell you exactly how this is going to play out, but the monetary conditions are deflationary right now. They're going into the deflationary zone, but the artificial or the government regulations in countries that are being imposed are making it so supply is crashing faster than the monetary supply, which means that prices will actually go up, if that makes any sense. So that's what you got to look out for. So anyhow, guys, love each and every one of you. That is the lowdown. That is the TLDR. But we went into it pretty in depth. Went into a lot of different things. And I'll catch you guys in the next video very soon. I'm surprised this backup camera battery actually held up the whole live stream. I was expecting it to do pretty bad. So, yeah. And I got a case of Corona. Anyway, guys, make sure you do and you don't get a case of Corona. So before we close off this stream, make sure you do get a case and don't get a case of Corona. You get the case of beers, but you don't get the case of the virus. And so also final thing as well is market crash. Possibly, again, look at what's going on in crypto. That might be an early indicator of what is to come. So be very careful. I'm predicting, that's why I'm buying Japanese yen. Margin catastrophe on the way. I think that's what's in the works. Selectivism in terms of what banks will go under, what banks will survive. Anyhow, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in one more video in Japan, but then after that, we'll see you back in Australia. So peace out. Peace out for now. Bye.